Hi there and welcome to our next video on separation techniques. In this video we're going to be looking at the different separation techniques there are to separate mixtures. There are loads of separation techniques and the key ones we're going to be having a look at are paper chromatography, filtration, evaporation and crystallization. In our next video we're going to be looking at distillation, which is another type of separating technique. So starting off with paper chromatography. This technique is used to separate out dyes in an ink. This image over here shows how paper chromatography is actually used. So you have the chromatography paper, you draw a line and the different dyes rise up in order of how much there are in the ink. And there are a few things you need to remember when carrying out paper chromatography. This line over here you draw out has to be drawn with pencil, and this is because pencil marks are insoluble and they won't dissolve in the solvent. If you put ink on there, the ink will just interfere with the reaction with the separating technique of paper chromatography. Another thing you need to make sure is that the ink isn't touching the solvent. This will again interfere with the separation technique. And the different dyes in the ink will move up the paper at a different rate, and this means the dyes have been separated out. And you can see this pattern on the chromatography paper. The spots are called the chromatogram. Now moving on to filtration. Over here I've drawn an image and an explanation to go with the image. So filtration separates our insoluble solids from liquids. Over here we have a solution with, let's say, sand and water. I'm using sand over here because sand is insoluble, it doesn't dissolve into the water. So you need some filter paper, you need a glass funnel or a plastic funnel, and you need a beaker. So your experiment to separating out water from sand would be, you get a funnel, you place some filter paper into it, you pour in the solution, and then the water will go through and the sand will stay behind. The sand which has stayed behind is called the solid residue, and that's whatever has been left behind. And that's how you carry out filtration. Now moving on to evaporation. This separates mixtures by heating, and at the end you'll have crystals left behind. So over here the heating material is the Bunsen burner. The Bunsen burner is under the tripod. On top of the tripod is the gauze, and on top of the gauze is the evaporating basin, and inside the basin is the solution. The solution has the water evaporated because all this energy, heat energy that's coming up, will evaporate the water. You may see the water starting to bubble and you may see smoke coming out, and that's just the water evaporating. And after some time, if you've left it long enough, you will see the salt in the basin left over, and those will be crystals later on. And that's the process of evaporation. Our final separation technique we're looking at in this video is crystallization. This is fairly close to evaporation. Over here you need to heat the solution, you need to wait for it to cool, and then you need to filter out the crystals and leave the highly concentrated solution to dry. So you can leave it to dry, you can place it in the sun, and that's how you do crystallization. It will just make sure that crystals are left behind. Because the solution is highly concentrated, you just have to put it in front of the sun or somewhere hot so you can see crystals which are left behind. In our next video, we're going to be looking at some exam questions to do with separation techniques. In the description box below, there's a link to a quiz which you can have a go at. But for now, that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. And one last thing, please subscribe and hit the like button.